This Veterans Day, we want to shine a light on a bipartisan bill introduced in the House of Representatives called the Service Dogs Assisting Veterans, or SAVES Act. It would allocate millions through the VA for grants to organizations doing the important work of providing certified service dogs to eligible veterans.
And one of those organizations is called Canines for Warriors. We are thrilled to welcome two individuals directly impacted by their work. Joining us now, U.S. Army retired Master Sergeant David Crenshaw and his service dog, Doc. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
It is a pleasure, and very well behaved. Doc already stealing the show. So you have 20 years experience.
Yes,
retired Master Sergeant in the Army National Guard. Tell us a little bit about your service experience.
So pretty cliche, like most kids, growing up watching movies, wanted to be in the military. Seeing my mom worked as a civilian contractor throughout the military bases really forged a strong bond of service that started as a young kid. So when I grew up, I joined the military.
And how did you find your way to deciding to get a service dog?
So I got to admit, it wasn't my own path or my own recommendation. It came at the behest of a friend who was already working with service dogs and helping fund them. And they said, hey, this might be a really good thing for you. And I said, why not? At that point, I had already tried all the other modalities that the VA and other medical professions have prescribed, and I felt like it really wasn't giving me that human affect back.
I mean, it's clear how well the two of you get along already. Based on this. What's the process for, are you assigned a service dog? Do you pick one out?
So they do a beautiful job of matching them. They do once we do an initial interview via like your application or online process, and from there it's followed up by a telephone interview and then an in-person interview when you get on the campus. And all the while they're collecting all these little data points just to see where you want to be in life as a veteran and pairing that perfect dog to help get you to where you want to be and beyond.
It's clear that the two of you have such a special bond. Explain to us why he's so important to you.
Well, when I first was diagnosed with PTSD, in its infancy, of mental health and PTSD as it relates to veterans, I was lost and I didn't know really what to do. I had always been taught how to win things and not lose. And so he was a major part in helping me gain my independence with dignity back. I was suffering from night terrors, insomnia, isolation, hypervigilance, and he just allowed for me to reintegrate with people, my family, society, and has given me a purpose beyond what I initially went there to rehabilitate for.
How long have the two of you been paired together now?
About almost 6 years.
How's that relationship evolved over the course of 6 years?
It's, people always ask that question, and I always say, Doc's a son, right? He's a son to me, he's a brother to his sisters, and what, again, started out just for me, the complex way of how he changes the environment in the household in its entirety. My wife being in healthcare, my kids being in school, there's a lot of stressors these days that extend beyond the veterans, as well as our stressors get passed on to our family members. So he really breaks down the barriers sometimes that are in the walls that are being put up by, unfortunately, some of us veterans.
You're such a good spokesperson for this. I'm curious, why do you think this is so important for other veterans who maybe can't get a service dog for themselves?
The big thing is the stigma, right? It just takes away the stigma. I could walk down the street and someone could see me with a service dog, understandably probably presume I have PTSD, and yet they'll still want to greet me. But I could meet those same people and tell them that, hey, I'm on prescription medicine, and they may look at me a different way. And the fact that these dogs provide unconditional love is just it affords that moment to afford healing. And that's all we really need. You give that little break from the thoughts, the intrusive thoughts and the ideology that you may have been enduring for post conflict, and it just allows for you to be human again, move forward, and see things in a clearer light that you may not have seen before.
I love it. And Doc knows that it's a national holiday, so he's relaxing. He's taking the day off.
Yeah, he loves the camera. He's definitely not one who's shy to that.
Fantastic. U.S. Army retired Master Sergeant Dave Crenshaw and Doc, thank you both.